I'm Talitha Caney, the coordinator for Reef Watch South Australia, and welcome to our video blog series. The species we will see today are found on our intertidal reefs here in South Australia, and we have our intertidal expert Peter Hunt talking to us today about limpets.
When visiting our rocky shorelines, even our boat ramps and slipways, when you look at the concrete walls, you'll often see cap-shaped molluscs, which we call limpets. And they can be found in many different areas, high up on the tide mark and quite low down. The reason is that there's a large variety and they're quite diverse. It's a case of one shape fits a range of different life forms. Limpet is our common name, but the scientific name is Patella gastropoda. Now, gastropoda basically means snail. Patella is the medical term for our kneecap. So these are kneecap shells. Limpets are often given many different names, umbrella shells, Chinaman's hats and so on. So basically the Patella gastropoda group are a range of snails that have decided not to have a coiled shell but to produce a flat umbrella shaped surface which will protect them. In turn, they have a strong muscular foot which they stick to the rocks or concrete surfaces. Okay, what we have here on the surface of this rock is a good family of common limpets. This is the Solana tramiserica. It's the common limpet and is the dominant grazing mollusk on the surface of this rock. Limpets graze using a hard tongue-like structure called a radula, and as they scour the rock surface to get the algae off, they actually do erode the rock to the extent that the older limpets actually will be slightly depressed into the rock. They have their own little home territory. So at night or during a low tide, these limpets will move around but will always return back to their home spot on the rock here, which will be much the same each day. Underneath these umbrella-shaped limpets, there are a number of different life forms, and in particular, the limpets that you find high up are actually air-breathing snails. They're actually, again, closely related to slugs and snails in your backyard. They breathe air, and they will drown if the tide came in permanently. These are called siphonaria because on their shell, if you look very closely, there is a tubular area to one side through which they breathe and can still remain clamped hard to the rock. If we have a close inspection of this rock surface here, not only will we see a good colony of siphonaria or false limpets, but we'll also see the fruits of their reproduction, and we'll see tiny little rings which are their product which holds their eggs. So we call those the siphonaria egg rings. Lower down on the reef we have the true limpets, and they're like normal marine snails. They have gills and they prefer to stay submersed. Again, they roam around at high tide and tend to have a home base during low tide and exposure. Different areas of a reef are exposed to different levels of energy with large and small waves, sheltered rock pools and the like. One species of limpet can take on many forms due to all these forces at work. So limpets that have made a sheltered rock pool home are generally very flat and shield shaped, like this one. The limpets that live on the edge of a rocky reef at the bottom of York Peninsula, for instance, have evolved to be very tall. So here is an example of a tall limpet. These two limpets are the same species, but they have grown differently related to their environment they live in. Another group of true limpets are the star limpets. I won't go into the scientific names because there are several major families to be dealt with here. The star limpets are much heavily ribbed and they're very hard to tell apart. Most of our limpets only grow to about 50 millimetres in diameter. There are several groups of miniature limpets which you'll found subtidally, and even a few prefer to grow on the stems of seagrass, eating the algae there. In Western Australia grows a giant limpet, which is the largest we have, and this is an example of it. This is from Esperance. The largest limpets in the world are from South Africa, and they grow as large as a full-size dinner plate, up to 30 centimetres across.
Thanks, Peter, for sharing your knowledge with us. If you'd like to find out more about Reef Watch, check out our Facebook or Instagram page or find us on our website.